Talon is a roaming mid laner whose favourite play is to run straight to bot lane and collect free kills. But our player today took this a step further. This is Loopsters, a challenger who's playing Talon Support, eliminating the roaming and just going straight to the kills. This is a whole new style of support. It isn't a classic support with CC, it isn't an AP poke support, and it isn't even an assassin support like Pyke, because Talon is an invading support. You see, usually supports are the ones being ganked, but in support, Talon is actually the one ganking the enemy jungler, quickly roaming into the jungle with his jumps, 1v1ing the enemy inside his own territory, and then stealing his camps to get Talon ahead in goal. This pick is self-reliant and carries games without needing any help from his team, perfect for solo queue. But first, this video is sponsored by Huel. Huel is a super convenient, nutritionally complete meal that you can buy in liquid or powder form. This is the Huel Black Edition. It's cookies and cream flavour in a powder. I like it, but I've also tried literally all of the other flavours in liquid and powder form, and I haven't found any that I don't like. I've been drinking Huel for at least 5 months now, and specifically reached out to them for this sponsor because of how often I use their products. I love Huel because of how super easy it is to make. Just add 2 scoops of powder to the shaker, 500ml of cold water, and shake. It's an easy meal in under a minute. So if you need to commute to work or school and don't have time to cook, if you're out and you don't want to pay for an expensive takeaway meal, or if you're working, you have a deadline coming up and you don't have time to cook, then Huel is a great solution to all of these. And unlike all of those expensive takeaway meals, Huel is plant-based with 27 vitamins and minerals, containing less than 5% sugar, with a good amount of fibre and 40 grams of protein. So instead of spending too much on unhealthy takeaways, with Huel you can get 17 healthy meals per bag, costing only £1.79 per meal. With your first order you also get the really nice shaker and a t-shirt alongside your Huel. So click the link in the description below to see all of the flavours and give it a try for yourself. But back to Talon. Our player, Loopsters, is a League veteran, being introduced to the game by his brother back in Season 1. But his story with Talon actually starts in Season 7. He played the pick mid lane for a while, climbing all the way to Diamond, and then being picked up by his school's Collegiate team. Collegiate is the US school and college league. But on his team, unfortunately the mid lane role was taken, so our player had to swap to top. He climbed all of this way with Talon, so he didn't just want to give up the pick. So instead he tried at top lane, and it actually went well, even playing some bruiser Talon. But then one day he was grinding solo queue to practice, and he remembers the game where he was autofilled to support, playing against a pro player, Jensen. Since Talon in top lane was working, he thought why not give it a try in support as well. After a crazy 44-minute game, his team came out ahead, and he realised this pick might actually work. But he didn't have time to test it, he had to focus on his team, so for a few seasons he played in his role, then swapping to mid, hitting Grandmaster and then Challenger in Season 9. Then in Season 12, after hitting Challenger again, he wanted to try something fresh, so he made a new account and swapped roles, playing support. But he never really trusted his AD carry or his team to do all of the damage, so he wanted a damage dealing support pick to ensure that he could still be the carry. Remembering that one single game he'd played 5 years earlier, he thought about Talon Support. So he began to test it, and he started to win games. And not only was he winning games, he was carrying them, outperforming all of the meta supports and even outperforming his own mid laner, hitting Grandmaster on this new account with this off-meta pick. But Talon Support is like nothing we've ever seen before in League. He doesn't have hard CC to peel for his team, or even to set up kills. He has no healing, no tankiness, or any other qualities you want in a support. So how can this pick work? Well, yes, it does lack these classic traits, but in exchange it has new ones. It has high damage, fast roaming, great 1v1s, as well as the ability to steal enemy jungle camps. Let's get in game so we can look at how it works. In lane at level 1, Talon takes W. Leashing on Talon Support is almost always bad. Your goal is to get to lane right away and use W on the wave to push it for level 2 as fast as you can. Talon keeps poking with W as the mana cost isn't too high and the range is good, which means it's easy for him to proc his first strike. Talon starts Sweeper every game to help control vision in lane. He clears wards in the bushes to give him and his AD carry some more safety to avoid poke. Taking Q at level 2, Talon gets a burst of damage and can look for a kill. Talon mid lane is great at getting early kills with Ignite, so this strength carries over to bot lane. With a QW auto Ignite, enemies will take about half of their health bar just from your point and click burst. So with his AD carry, he's very good at setting up quick burst kills. Taking E at level 3, he unlocks his roaming tool and can start to spam jump walls to join fights in other lanes. And this is always much faster than the enemy support. But more importantly, against meta support, he now also has the burst damage to one-shot them, with Glacial Augment being the go-to rune for CC support. supports. Talon's damage is much higher than you expect, immediately bursting the enemy support when they engage with a hook. It's the perfect counter to champions like Leona or Nautilus. And so even though Talon Support has no hard CC, it would clearly be stupid for enemies to fight them 2 vs 2 because of this high damage. So even though he lacks CC, he makes up for it in another way. If his AD carry is hooked, instead of peeling, he just goes in and bursts someone down. It's a whole new style of supporting, just getting a kill by himself. And in reality, the W slow is higher value than you expect. Even just landing this high range ability can slow an enemy enough to set up a kill. His first base should be to buy Serrated Dirk, and in fact he takes Futures Market to get this power spike as fast as possible. With this huge amount of damage bought early on, he can match the damage of a mid laner or a jungler in an early fight. So immediately on this base he looks to roam and make a play, spamming his E over every wall and creating an outnumbered fight where he's able to burst one target down with his teammate and make the numbers advantage even bigger. No other support champion can quickly jump over walls like this, reach your jungler in time, and also do enough damage to save them. Anytime he returns bot lane, he plays in the fog of war and can use E to jump over the wall and surprise enemies, likely getting a free flash early on, so then at level 6 he can use it to get a kill. Since he has been roaming so much, the enemy bot lane will always try to push and get tower plates, so Talon can take advantage of this, because enemies are never going to expect a support jumping over a wall and bursting them down. Talons always love roaming bot lane, but it's even harder for enemies to avoid when he's always in your lane. His main goal at level 6 is to look for the most squishy champion on the enemy team and begin to target them. This can be in bot lane where they look for a 2 vs 2 kill to win lane, or Talon can go mid, top, or even invade the enemy jungle. This is where he starts his counter-jungling strategy. He jumps into the enemy jungle looking for a 1 vs 1 fight. If he finds it, he can look for a kill, and if not, he can always take jungle camps. His clear is very good thanks to his W AoE and the bleed damage, so he can kill camps quickly and stay healthy. This means he'll always be even in XP and gold, even when he's roaming, and this goes perfectly with his first item, Umbral Glaive. Umbral is one of the main reasons that this pick is actually very good. Without it, the pick would work, but it wouldn't be as OP. He walks into the enemy jungle, getting vision of every enemy ward, and killing it in one hit. If anyone shows up, then his damage is enough to take a fight, and he's also able to get a lot of deep vision down with his wards. And even if he gets collapsed on, he always has his E to jump over a wall and slip away. If we compare this to other supports, in this clip you can see another off-meta support who's immobile and cannot even clear wards in River due to their lack of mobility. This is a problem even for meta supports like Nautilus or Leona, who can get collapsed on and caught when they go for a deep ward. But Talon never has this problem thanks to his E, so getting vision control is very safe. Talon's focus now is getting kills. Our player actually likes to steal as many kills as he can. In his victories, it's pretty common that he is the one with the most kills, not the people on his team who are supposed to be the carries. The goal of this pick is to get some kills early on and start to snowball the game. You aren't getting resources from a lane like Talon mid. Your resources come from 1v1 kills and stealing camps from the enemy. So then with a couple of kills, in mid game you can start to play like a true assassin, running and jumping straight onto enemies, bursting them down and quickly escaping over a wall before you can be punished. This pick is very fun and also self-reliant, meaning you can get in and get out by yourself, also having the damage to completely kill an enemy, not needing teammates to help you at all. And unlike most damage supports, Talon's burst is very difficult to dodge. If we compare him to Pyke, then that champion has clear weaknesses, like you can sidestep his E or his hook and flash out of his ultimate, but Talon's Q damage can't be avoided. His W is huge, so it's very easy to tag an enemy with it, and his ult is a big AoE that also gives him safety, so if you jump onto Talon, he can even use ult to dodge your damage. So similar to a Shaco support, Talon is one of the only support picks in the game that has an invisibility, which lets him stall enemies and dodge damage. He can engage a fight and then use Invis to stall for his team, baiting a kill, and this is especially useful against fed enemies. Luckily, unlike mid Talon, you only need a couple of simple combos for this pick. The first is your main burst combo, just W, Q, R auto attack, using E to escape afterwards. All of your ultimate blades will hit the enemy after you do this, having ignite and the bleed to finish off the kill. The other very important combo, especially for after the durability changes, is W flash to buffer the W into Q auto attack, following up with E to chase if needed, and then using ultimate into an auto attack. This combo takes a bit longer, but it fits in extra damage, which is always useful on support. Every time you auto attack, your bleed damage is reset, so even though you haven't hit a new ability, the burn damage keeps going for longer, so that's useful to know as well. Team fighting on support Talon is pretty simple. You only really have one way way to play the fight that's good, but it is effective. Our player says that this champion is best when you come out of Fog of War using W/Q to get onto a squishy enemy, and then immediately burst them. With your Umbral Glaive and your Sweeper, you can almost always start in an area of fog. Ideally, you won't die during the fight, but since you're playing support, if you trade your life for a fed enemy carry, it's almost always going to be worth it, which isn't the same if you're playing mid lane. Engaging while you're on vision is almost always a bad idea, and Loopsters always recommend spam pinging when you're about to engage, so that your team is ready to follow after you jump. But really, on Talon, he prefers not to teamfight if possible. Even on support, your damage is really high. He can kill carries and uses Eclipse to survive even in 1v2s. This is a support killing multiple enemies in a very uneven fight. At this point of the game, other than the level difference, it's hard to tell he's even playing support. So now he wants to go for some sneaky invades. Thanks to his ward detection on his item and his sweeper, he'll never be spotted by vision without knowing, so it's very safe for him to camp a bush, wait in it, and then one-shot the enemy mid laner as soon as they come near. Another bonus is that if there's a kill in a side lane, Talon can get there very quickly, bursting the enemy back and evening up the fight. Talon support is actually the main playmaker in most of these games, and this is perfect for solo queue. The pick looks really good once you get a couple of items, where you can play as a carry, not relying on your teammates at all, which is something that most supports really need to, even if you're playing Pyke. The XP starts to even up in late game, and he can begin to absolutely outplay enemies, like this Rengar, kiting out of his ultimate range, and burning through him even when Rengar has Elder Dragon. But of course, we need to talk about the durability update that's just come out. League of Legends has changed, so what's going to happen to support Talon and other high damage assassins? Well, Talon is a snowballing pick, so if he's ahead, it doesn't really matter if enemies have a little bit more health and armor, he'll still be beating them in damage, and can win most of the same fights, so the game plan should be the same. I personally also think that the balanced team aren't always that bad, and if needed, they're just going to buff assassins. They're a popular class, and most of the time the balanced team do a pretty good job. I think it's really the champion design team that are terrible and don't know how to do their jobs. They are the ones who add the champions with 10 different passives, and it's just unbalanceable, which is why so many features always get removed from new champions. So I think that this pick will be weaker than it was when our player got Grandmaster, but solo queue will always be solo queue, and so Talon will always have a place, especially against squishy bot laners. For his build, he starts Scythe every game for maximum damage, Serrated Dirk early on for his quick power spike, into Umbral Glaive Rush to control the enemy jungle, cooldown boots into Eclipse as his mythic, as these give him a bit more sustain damage for 1v1s, letting him use multiple cooldowns and get a shield, finishing the build with more lethality or armor pen if needed. He bans Blitzcrank or Lulu every game as they have great CC to stop his assassinations, and his rune page is First Strike for the bonus initial damage, also taking free boots since his E is so powerful that he doesn't need boots early on, also having Futures Market and Treasure Hunter to give him extra gold early on, which helps him snowball. It's a very well thought out strategy. If you want to see more of Loopsters, he's streaming his Talon support games on Twitch at twitch.tv/Loopsters, link below, and thanks again to Huel for sponsoring this video. Link to try them is in the description as well. I'd highly recommend just getting some to keep at home for when you don't feel like cooking, but you still want something that's healthy, so make sure you check it out. Thanks so much for watching.